The ballroom of the Adolphus Hotel in downtown Dallas, Texas, had 150 people in it. 150 people dressed in the most expensive fabrics money could buy. Laughing, eating, drinking champagne, swaying to a 16-piece live band playing high-life music under crystal chandeliers. And in one single moment, every single one of those 150 people went silent. Not quiet, silent. The kind of silent that happens when the air itself changes. When something walks into a room and rearranges the energy so completely that human beings forget how to speak. Because the woman standing in the doorway of that ballroom was not supposed to look like that. She was supposed to be the joke, the punchline. She was a housekeeper, a woman who, just 8 hours earlier, and had been on her knees scrubbing a kitchen floor for $400 a week. But the woman standing in that doorway, in an emerald green Valentino gown, a diamond choker wrapped around her neck, a distinguished older man in a navy three-piece suit standing at her side, that woman did not look like a joke. She looked like she owned every room she had ever walked into. And the woman who had planned all of this, the birthday queen, the host, the architect of the cruelty, was standing 15 feet away with champagne running down her custom coral gown because her hands had not stopped trembling since the doors opened. This is a story about what happens when you try to humiliate someone that fate has already chosen to protect. And if you think you know how this ends, you don't. And because fate had been writing this story long before anyone in that room knew they were characters in it. But before I take you back to the beginning, if you believe that fate always delivers justice, go ahead and subscribe to this channel right now and hit that notification bell. Because we bring you stories where every villain falls and every humble heart gets crowned. Now let's get into it. Lives in Preston Hollow. That's the energy. And Adaeze didn't just live there. She reigned there. Her husband, Chief Dr. Emeka Okonkwo, was one of the most successful cardiologists in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. 3 clinics, a teaching position at UT Southwestern. The man made more money in a single month than most families touched in a year. But Adaeze didn't simply enjoy being wealthy. Adaeze needed everyone around her to feel her wealth like a weight pressing down on their chests. She needed to walk into a room and know that every woman in it was calculating the cost of her outfit, her jewelry, her shoes, and arriving at a number that made them feel small. That was her oxygen. She ran a social group, the Dallas Nigerian Wives Association. 15 women who gathered at her house every other Saturday for jollof rice, imported palm wine, and gossip so vicious it could strip paint. Every meeting, Adaeze sat in a high-backed white chair at the head of her dining table. Nobody else was allowed to sit in it. It was understood the way gravity is understood. From that chair, she dispensed judgment. Did you see what Ngozi wore to church? And that lace looked like clearance rack at Rainbow. Chidinma's husband got passed over for promotion again. I heard they might move to an apartment. An apartment. She delivered these verdicts with a smile. Perfect cruelty wrapped in perfect charm. And the women laughed. Not because it was funny, but because laughter was the price of admission. If you didn't laugh at Adaeze's jokes, you became her next joke. And in the Dallas Nigerian community, being on the wrong side of Adaeze was social death. So they laughed, and Adaeze fed. But there was one person in Adaeze's orbit who never laughed, never reacted, never flinched, never gave Adaeze a single drop of the emotional response she craved. Her housekeeper. And this is where fate enters the story. Quietly, the way fate always does. Nneka Amefule was 31 years old. She arrived at the Okonkwo mansion every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. and left at 4 p.m. She cleaned everything, every room, every surface, bathrooms, laundry, marble floors on her hands and knees, silver that Adaeze used once a year. For all of this, Adaeze paid her $400 a week. If you know what housekeepers charge in Dallas, you know that number is an insult. But Nneka never negotiated. She arrived, she worked, she collected her pay, and she left. She was quiet. The kind of woman who entered a room and you might not notice, not because she wasn't beautiful, because she was, but because she moved through space like someone who had decided to be invisible. And that invisibility was driving Adais out of her mind, because Adais tried to break her. She left messes on purpose. Red wine poured on white marble 30 minutes after Neka finished mopping. She inspected rooms and held up a finger with a speck of dust, like a prosecutor presenting evidence. She talked about Neka on the phone in Igbo while Neka was standing right there. This girl is a village girl. She doesn't know anything, but she cleans well. That's what people like her are good for. And Neka? Every single time? Head down, hands steady, back to work. Not a tear, not a flinch. It was like swinging a hammer at a lake. No matter how hard Adais hit, the surface absorbed it and went still. Adais hated Neka because Neka had something Adais could not buy, fake, or take. Dignity. Real dignity. The kind that lives in the bones. The thought was always there, burning behind every insult. This girl thinks she's better than me. And fate heard that thought. Fate heard it and smiled. Because fate had plans for Adaizi Okonkwo. Adaizi's 40th birthday was 3 weeks away, and she was building the event of the decade. She booked the Adolphus Hotel, hired an event planner from Houston, commissioned a custom coral and gold gown from New York, ordered a 5-tier cake from a celebrity baker, booked a live band and a DJ, even secured a Nollywood actress to make an appearance. Budget, $200,000. Guest list, 150 people, every prominent Nigerian family in DFW. Everything was set. And then fate whispered an idea into Adaizi's ear. She thought it was her own idea. She didn't realize she was picking up a script that had already been written for her. Saturday meeting, 2 weeks before the gala, small chops on the table. Chapman in crystal glasses. Adais clapped her hands twice and the room went quiet. Ladies, I have the most brilliant idea. 14 faces turned. You all know my housekeeper, Neka. I am going to invite her to my gala. Kioma leaned forward. Invite her as what? Adais grinned. As a guest. She laughed. Full volume. Theatrical. I give her a formal invitation. Gold envelope. She shows up in whatever she can scrape together. Some dress from Ross. And there she is, standing among 150 people in custom designer outfits. She paused for effect. Then after the toast, I call her to the front. I say, everyone, meet Neka. She keeps my home beautiful. And the contrast says everything. Most of the women laughed. Not all. Obiageli at the far end did not laugh. She looked at her phone and pressed her lips together. But nobody objected. Because protesting Adaizi was a luxury none of them could afford. And fate watched this scene and made a very detailed note. Monday morning, 7 a.m. Neka walked up the driveway. Same t-shirt, same jeans, same sneakers. Adais was waiting at the front door. Silk robe, coffee in one hand, gold envelope in the other. Neka, I want you to come to my birthday celebration as my guest. It would mean so much to me. Neka looked at the envelope, then at Adaize. Something flickered behind her eyes. Not surprise, more like recognition. Ma, I don't think I have anything appropriate to wear to... Oh, stop! Come as you are. Whatever you have is perfect. We're all family. The word family came out like venom designed to do damage later. Neka took the envelope. She looked at Adais for a long moment, those calm, unreadable eyes. Thank you, Ma. I will come. Adais grabbed her phone and typed into the group chat. The fish has taken the bait. And 3 minutes later, Neka was sitting in her Honda Civic in Adaizi's driveway, making a phone call that would change everything. International, Nigeria, Enugu State, 2 rings. NWAM, how are you, my daughter? Daddy, I'm fine. You don't sound fine. Daddy, I think it's time. Time for what? Time to stop hiding. Now. This is where everything flips. Pay close attention, because fate was about to show its hand. Nneka Amaefule came from Enugu. She cleaned houses in Dallas. She lived in a small apartment in Garland. She drove a 2016 Honda Civic. All true. But the story Adais had constructed, that Nneka was a poor village girl with nothing, that was fiction. Adai's fiction. Nneka's father was Chief Obiora Amaefule, founder and CEO of Amaefule Construction Group, one of the 3 largest construction companies in southeast Nigeria. Hospitals, universities, bridges, highway systems, 4,000 employees, contracts across Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, and Kenya. Net worth, roughly $400 million. Nneka was his daughter. Her older brother ran a tech company in Lagos and London. Her younger sister was a cardiothoracic surgeon in Abuja. So why was Chief Amaefule's daughter scrubbing Adaeze Okonkwo's kitchen floor? Because 5 years ago, fate had taken something from Nneka that she could not buy back. His name was Tobena. 6 years together. Wedding 3 months away. Our venue booked. Dress fitted. 400 guests confirmed. Then a Tuesday evening. A drive from Enugu to Onitsha. A truck. A blind curve. He was gone before the ambulance arrived. Nneka did not scream. She sat down on the floor and stopped. Stopped eating. Stopped speaking. Stopped being anything recognizable as the woman she had been. After a year, her father sat her down. Go somewhere new. Let me set you up. London, New York. I'll buy you a house. Fund any business. Nneka said, Daddy, I don't want your money. I want to work with my hands. I want to be so tired at the end of every day that I fall asleep before I can dream about him. Chief Amaefule cried. But he let her go. She came to Dallas with almost nothing. By choice. Found cleaning work. By choice. Lived simply. By choice. And every month. And her father deposited $50,000 into a Chase bank account she never touched. By the time Adais handed her that gold envelope, the account held over $2 million. But it was never about money. It was about a woman rebuilding herself from the ground up. And then Adais came along with her deliberate messes and her Igbo insults and her gold envelope full of cruelty. And fate said, enough. Not Nneka. Fate. Because Nneka would have kept going. She had survived worse than Adaeze Okonkwo. But fate operates on its own schedule. And fate had decided that Adaeze's bill was coming due. Nneka was the instrument fate had chosen to deliver it. After the phone call, things moved quickly. Chief Amaefule booked first class. Enugu to Lagos to Dallas. Arriving 2 days before the gala, Nneka called her brother Chukwuemeka. I need you to look up a name. Chief Dr. Emeka Okonkwo, cardiologist in Dallas. Check if he has any pending business with Daddy's company. Chukwuemeka called back in 40 minutes. You're not going to believe this. This man submitted a proposal 8 months ago. Partnership to build cardiac care clinics across West Africa. Lagos, Accra, Nairobi. Worth $8 to $10 million. Sitting on my desk. We haven't responded. Nneka closed her eyes. Fate had put that proposal on that desk. Fate had been arranging pieces like a chess grandmaster. Don't respond. Don't accept. Don't reject. Just hold it. Then Nneka went shopping. Not at Ross. Not at Marshall's. Highland Park Village. The most exclusive shopping center in Dallas. Emerald green Valentino gown. Haute couture. Diamond choker. Emerald drop earrings. Cartier bracelet. Jimmy Choo heels. Total, $87,000. First withdrawal from the Chase account in 3 years. Fate has a dark sense of humor. The 3 weeks between the invitation and the gala, Nneka performed flawlessly. Same time, same clothes, same quiet energy. She never mentioned the party. Adais was delirious with excitement. She hasn't said a word about it. She's going to show up in exactly what I predicted. Meanwhile, Obiageli ran into Nneka at an H-E-B grocery store. Are you going to the party? Nneka looked at her with calm certainty. Yes, I am going. Something in those words made Obiageli pause. No anxiety, No dread, just wait. Obiageli decided to bring her phone to the gala fully charged. Call it intuition. Call it fate tapping her shoulder. Saturday, October 14th, 7 p.m. And the Adolphus Hotel Grand Ballroom was a masterpiece. Gold and ivory draping, crystal chandeliers, waiters with champagne and suya, an ice sculpture of Adaizi's initials. Because of course there was. Guests arrived in waves. Mercedes, BMWs, one Rolls-Royce. Inside, the room was a fashion exhibition. Custom lace, hand-beaded aso ok, galas defying physics. At 8:45, Adaiz made her entrance. Coral and gold gown, hand-beaded, towering guile, gold chains layered 3 deep. She walked in on Chief Doctor's arm, waving like a head of state. The room erupted. Adaiz! Birthday queen! She took her elevated seat and surveyed her kingdom. Then she scanned for Neka. 8:55, no Neka. 9 o'clock, no Neka. 9:10, nothing. Has the girl come? She asked Kioma. I don't see her. 9:15. Chief Doctor gave his toast. To my beautiful wife. Of 40 years of grace, elegance, and strong opinions. Glasses raised. Adaizi smiled, but inside she was stewing. The 9:30 moment was approaching, and her punchline hadn't arrived. 9:25. She was about to give up. The joke was dead. 9:27. A murmur at the back of the room. Not loud. A shift. Like air pressure dropping before a storm. Heads turning. One table, then another. A wave rolling forward. The double doors were opening. And there she was. Emerald green. The gown caught every chandelier and turned the light into something alive. It flowed around her frame like liquid. Diamond choker throwing light like tiny stars. Emerald drops at her ears. Hair in a sculptural updo with gold pins. Makeup done with editorial precision. She stood in the doorway for 3 seconds. Not posing. Just arriving. And the way someone arrives who has walked into 1,000 rooms like this and never once doubted their right to be there. Then she walked. Click, 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 steady, unhurried, each step saying, I am exactly where I am supposed to be. And beside her walked a man, tall, silver temples, navy 3-piece suit tailored like it was painted on, an energy that announced without words, I am someone. Chief Obiora Amefule, 16 hours, first class. For this, because when his daughter called and said, Daddy, I think it's time, the family shows up. That's not a choice. That's DNA. The room was paralyzed. 150 frozen people. A woman with champagne halfway to her lips. A man with a fork suspended mid-air. Waiters stopped mid-stride. And at the head table, Adaiz was experiencing something she had never felt before. An invisibility. Every eye was on Neka, not on the birthday queen, on the housekeeper, the village girl. Except that woman was gone. The woman standing in this room was who she had always been, the person Adaizi had never bothered to see. Adaizi's champagne was spilling down her coral gown. She couldn't make her hand stop shaking. Kioma grabbed her arm. Ada, Ada, is that Neka? Adaizi could not answer. Then Obiageli stood up. Quiet, invisible Obiageli. She walked across the silent ballroom directly to the entrance. Chief Amefule, sir, what an honor. My father is Professor Nwosu from UNN. You built the new wing of the teaching hospital. You funded the pediatric cardiac unit in Enugu. The words landed like bombs. Chief Amefule, Amefule, construction, hospitals, hundreds of millions. And his daughter was the woman Adaiz paid $400 a week to scrub her floors. The information rippled through the crowd, face by face, table by table, whispers igniting, phones appearing. Chief Amefule walked toward the head table, Neka beside him, crowd parting. He stopped in front of Adaizi. Mrs. Okonkwo, I am Chief Obiora Amefule. I wanted to thank you for the generous invitation you extended to my daughter. It is not every employer who treats their staff with such Thoughtfulness. Thoughtfulness. The word hung like a guillotine blade. Everyone knew. The WhatsApp whispers had done their work. Half the room had heard the plan, and now they watched the architect stand face to face with $400 million worth of consequence. Chief Amayfuel, welcome. You are very welcome. Sir. Her voice sounded like it came from the bottom of a well. Chief Dr. Emeka understood now. He knew that name. He had been trying to get a meeting with this man for 8 months. Cardiac care clinics across West Africa. $8 to $10 million. And now the man whose signature he needed was standing in his wife's ballroom as the father of the housekeeper his wife had been humiliating for over a year. He looked at Adaise. She looked at him. And something broke between them. Not loudly, the way a bone breaks underwater. Neka stepped forward, toward Adaise. The crowd adjusted, every body angled toward this moment. She smiled. Not a smirk, not revenge dressed in courtesy. A real smile, warm, calm. The same calm she had carried through every insult. That calm hadn't been weakness, it had been depth. Happy birthday, Adaise. No, Ma. First time in over a year. I brought you a gift. A small box, gold paper, white ribbon. Adaise's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, a check, $50,000, made out to the Dallas Nigerian Women's Empowerment Foundation. A handwritten note, for every woman who was told she was nothing, she is everything. Neka Amefule. A printed card explaining the foundation, formally registered that week. Scholarships, microloans, legal assistance for Nigerian immigrant women in DFW. Neka had not come to humiliate Adaise. She had come to build something. She had taken the weapon and turned it into a foundation. Fate doesn't just punish. Fate repurposes. The room erupted in applause, standing ovation, women crying, men nodding with deep respect. Obiageli was recording. She had been recording since Neka walked through the doors. But she had also recorded something earlier. Adaise at 9:15, leaning toward a group of women saying, "Just wait until the housekeeper arrives. I'm going to call her up front and introduce her as my toilet cleaner. This is going to be the funniest thing you have ever seen." She had both videos. The plan and the backfire. The cruelty and the consequence. Sunday morning. Both videos hit WhatsApp. No caption. The footage spoke for itself. Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, Maryland, New York, London, Lagos. By Monday morning, Adaise was the most talked about Nigerian woman in the American diaspora. Not in the way she wanted. Fate had kept a perfect record, and Fate had just published it. Monday, 9:14 a.m. Chief Doctor received an email from Amafuel Construction Group. So, after careful deliberation, we have elected not to proceed with the proposed partnership for the West African Cardiac Care Initiative. $8 to $10 million. Gone. With 3 sentences. Chief Doctor drove home, found Adaise in the kitchen. "Do you know what you've done?" His voice was quiet. That was worse than shouting. "You didn't know who she was because you never ask. You never care who people are. You only care who they aren't. You saw a girl on her knees and decided she was nothing. And your decision has cost this family $8 million. Emeka, please. I'm sleeping in the guest room." The door closed. Not slammed. Closed. With a soft, deliberate click. Tuesday. 2 wives left the WhatsApp group. Wednesday. 3 more. Not because they found morality, because the power equation changed. And Adaise was radioactive. These women followed power. Power had changed its address. Thursday. Kioma called. "Ada, you need to apologize publicly." "Apologize? To the girl who came to my party and—" "Ada, you invited her. You planned it. You got recorded. She didn't humiliate you. You humiliated yourself." Adaise hung up. By the following Saturday, the Dallas Nigerian Wives Association was dead. The group chat was a graveyard. The high-backed white chair sat empty in an empty room. and Adaizi sat alone in her 7-bedroom house, staring at a phone full of messages she couldn't open. Chief Doctor stayed in the guest room, spoke to her about children's schedules only, attended events alone. She's resting. Now. You might think this is where the story ends. Villain punished, underdog wins, credits roll, but fate wasn't finished. Fate had one more scene. 6 months later, NECA's foundation had grown, board seated, office in Irving, 25 scholarships awarded to immigrant women across DFW. She never went back to cleaning houses. She never spoke about a days publicly. When asked about the viral videos, she said, "That night was about launching something that will help many women. That is the only story worth telling." April. 6 months after the gala, the foundation hosted its first fundraiser. 50 people, a community center in Irving, folding chairs, a podium, no chandeliers, just women. NECA gave a speech about the 25 women helped, about Amaka who finished nursing school, about Blessing who started a catering company, about dignity, about how being poor and being worthless are not the same thing. The room was weeping. And then the door opened. Adaiz walked in. She looked different, not physically, but the energy around her had collapsed. The woman who used to fill rooms was trying to fit through them unnoticed. Plain black dress, flat shoes, no jewelry except her wedding ring, no gale, no makeup, red-rimmed eyes. She walked to the back, pulled out a folding chair, sat down, folded her hands, stared at the floor. NECA stood at the podium looking at the back row. 10 seconds of silence. "Thank you all for being here. That concludes our program." She walked to the back of the room, pulled a chair next to Adaiz, side by side, folding chairs, fluorescent lights, Irving, Texas. Adaiz spoke first, barely a whisper. "I didn't come for pity. I know. I came because I need to say something. Say it. I'm sorry. For what I planned. For how I treated you. Not just the party. Every day, every insult in Igbo, every mess I left on purpose, every inspection designed to make you feel small." Tears falling. She didn't wipe them. "And I'm not sorry because I got caught. I'm not sorry because my husband won't look at me. I'm sorry because I was trying to destroy you, because you had something I've never had. Peace. You walked through my house with nothing, and you had more peace in your silence than I have ever felt with all my things. And I hated you for it." She covered her face. "I don't have peace, NECA. I wake up every morning and the first thought is, who can I be better than today? That's not living. That's drowning with dry hair. And I'm so tired of drowning." NECA sat still through all of it. "Adaize, do you know why I never reacted?" Adaize shook her head. "It wasn't because I didn't hear you. I heard every word. Village girl, toilet cleaner, all of it. I didn't react because I lost someone. When the worst possible thing has already happened to you, words lose their power. You called me nothing, but I had already felt like nothing for 2 years after he died." Adaiz was sobbing. "But I also didn't react because I could see you were suffering. Happy people don't crush others to feel tall. Only drowning people do that." Silence. "What you did was wrong, Adaizi. If it happened to a woman without my support system, without my father, without my family's resources, it could have destroyed her. You need to understand that." Adaizi nodded. "But holding anger is a prison. I've already been in one prison, grief, and I spent 3 years breaking out. I'm not walking into another one. So I forgive you, not for your sake, for mine." Silence. "Can I do something? For the foundation? I don't want to just apologize and disappear." NECA looked at her carefully. "Can you organize events?" Adaiz almost laughed through tears. "That is literally the only thing I've ever been good at." "Then let's start there." And fate smiled. Because this was always the ending fate had written. Not destruction, reconstruction. Within 3 months, Days organized the foundation's second fundraiser. 200 guests, a proper venue. She used every skill she had, the same abilities she spent years using for vanity, now pointed at something that mattered. The second fundraiser raised $112,000. The third raised $250,000. Adaz didn't sit at head tables anymore. She worked floors. I greeted guests, stuffed envelopes, funded 3 scholarships personally, mentored 12 immigrant women. She and Chief Doctor went to counseling. It was brutal and slow. He moved back after 4 months. Different marriage, harder, more honest, better. She never rebuilt the Wives Association. That group was built on fear. I never want to build anything on fear again. Chief Amayfuli eventually reconsidered the clinic deal. Not because of Adazi's redemption, because Chief Doctor independently reached out, apologized, and submitted a revised proposal with a community health component. Chief Amayfuli called him personally. I invest in people, Dr. Okonkwo, not plans. Your plan was always good. I needed to know the people behind it were worth my name. The deal closed at $12 million. Because fate doesn't just balance scales. Fate tips them toward people who do the work of becoming better. So listen, 3 lessons before you go. First, never mistake humility for weakness. The person cleaning your floor might be choosing that floor. The person driving your car might have a garage you'll never see. You do not know people's stories. Treat every human being with respect. Not because they might be secretly rich, because they are human. That should be enough. Second, cruelty is the most expensive habit in the world. Adazi's 3-week joke cost her husband $8 million, cost her every friendship, cost her reputation across 3 continents, and nearly cost her marriage. There is no version of cruelty that doesn't send you the bill, and the bill always arrives at the worst possible time. That's how fate works. And third, grace will always be louder than revenge. Neka had the money to destroy Adaze, the platform, the public sympathy. She could have dragged her across every social media platform on earth. She chose a folding chair instead. She sat next to the woman who tried to break her and said, "Let's start there." That is power. Not the Valentino gown, not the diamonds, not the $2 million, the folding chair, the willingness to sit beside someone who wounded you and say, "I see your pain, and I'm choosing not to add to it." Be careful how you treat people, not because they might be secretly wealthy, because fate is always watching. Fate keeps a perfect record. Fate never forgets a single act of cruelty and a single act of kindness. And fate, as this story proves, never, ever misses. Old wisdom, new drama, perfect justice. I'll see you in the next one.